podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
The Two-Footed Podcast is brought to you by EPLindex.com and our presenting sponsor, Liberty Shield. Liberty Shield is a VPN provider. A virtual privacy network allows you to go online, change your location, access things you're geo-blocked from, while keeping your data safe. So, as an example, if you are a UK expat and want access to BBC iPlayer to watch Match of the Day, or ITV Hub, or all four, will you get that message that says this content is not available in your location? A Liberty Shield VPN gets you around that block, allows you to watch whatever you want on those services, while also keeping your data safe. And it goes further than that. It allows you to open up Netflix's entire library by just changing your IP address. Liberty Shield is the number one rated VPN provider on Trustpilot with 5-star ratings across the board. So go to libertyshield.com right now, use the code EPL25 and get either the hardware package or the software package. The hardware package is a router that you plug into your existing router, and any item you want to change the IP address on, be it your phone or your television, you connect that to the new Liberty Shield router. All other items can remain connected to your existing router. There's also a software package which is instantly downloadable to your device and you can get using straight away. Again, libertyshield.com, EPL25 for 25% off at checkout. We're also brought to you by Home of Hopcroft, a giftware and homeware company located in Scotland but shipping worldwide. Check out homeofhopcroft.co.uk and do check out the EPL Index and Anfield Index shops, which you'll find on Etsy. Use the codes EPL10 or RED10 for 10% off at checkout. And lastly, do remember to check out A Tad Predictable, hosted by Tadiwa. That podcast is on this feed before every Premier League match week. And then the EPL Roundtable, hosted by Kevin DeVries, on its own EPL Roundtable feed. So just search EPL Roundtable in your podcast device. And that's out after every match week. Now, on with the show. What's good, boys and girls? Two-Footed Podcast. Today is Monday. It is the 17th of June, and we are well underway at Euro 2024. Plenty of games already, and lots more to come. If you haven't been paying attention, on Friday night, Germany 5, Scotland 1. Florian Wirtz, Jamal Musiala, Kai Havertz the penalty spot, and Nicholas Füllkrug put Germany 4 up. Antonio Rudiger scored an own goal to give Scotland, I don't know, a bit of pride or whatever. And then Emre Can made it 5-1 in stoppage time. Ryan Porteous sent off just before half-time in the incident that led to the Kai Havertz penalty. On Saturday, Hungary won, Switzerland 3. Dua put Switzerland 1 up. Abisher made it 2 just on the stroke of half-time. Varga pulled one back for the Hungarians on 66. And it did feel like they were going to get an equaliser, but Breel Mbolo on a counter-attack with a really nice finish to make it 3-1 and give the Swiss a good win. Spain beat Croatia 3-0. Alvaro Morata, Fabian Ruiz and Dani Carvajal had that one wrapped up before half-time. Italy 2, Albania 1. Bajrami put Albania 1 up after a very silly mistake by Fede DiMarco, but Bastoni scored on 11 minutes and Barea scored on 16, and that was it. 2-1 to the Italians, very comfortable from there. In the late game on Saturday, no, this was the early game on Sunday, the early game on Sunday, we had Poland 1, Netherlands 2. Poland went 1-0 up through Buxa on 16. Gakpo equalised on 29. Weghorst on 83 to give the Dutch a winning start. Slovenia won, Denmark won. Christian Eriksen, 3 years on from almost losing his life on a football field. What a wonderful story for him and for his team as he scores the opener. But Eric Janza equalises on 77 minutes by way of a deflection, and the spoils are shared. Last game on Sunday, England 1, Serbia 0. Jude Bellingham scored with a header on 13 minutes, and not a whole lot else happened in the game. Mitrovic had a half-decent chance. Harry Kane did almost score, but he barely touched the ball in the whole game. That was a good save from Rajkovic. England were okay. They weren't good. They weren't bad. They were just okay. And they got the 3 points, and that really is all that matters. Now, today, Romania have beaten Ukraine 3-0 in what I think is the first proper shock of the tournament so far. Stanciu scores a worldie on 29. Razvan Marin scores a really good goal on 53. And Denis Dragos with a poacher's finish on 57. Ukraine were an abomination, the worst team I've seen in the competition so far. Romania looked really, really good, and congrats to them. What a wonderful way to start the tournament. Ongoing as we speak, Belgium 0, Slovakia 1. Ivan Schranz has put Slovakia 1 up. And if that one holds, that is another huge upset in this competition. So the standings as we speak, Germany are top of Group A with 3 points. Switzerland second, also 3 points, but a worse goal difference. Hungary are third, and Scotland are fourth. In Group B, Spain top, Italy second, goal difference separates them. Then Albania third, Croatia fourth. England top Group C. Denmark and Slovenia are in second and third. Serbia are bottom. Netherlands top Group D, but Austria, France is tonight. That is tonight's 8 p.m. UK kickoff, so one to look forward to. Poland obviously sit at bottom. In Group E, as things stand, Romania are top, Slovakia are second, Belgium third, and Ukraine fourth. And tomorrow, which is Tuesday, we will get just the two games. We get Turkey taking on Portugal. That's at 5 p.m. No, sorry, we get Turkey taking on Georgia at 5 p.m. and Portugal taking on the Czech Republic, also at an 8 p.m. kickoff. So no early game tomorrow, which is a bit of a shame. But should be two decent games tomorrow. You'd fancy Portugal to win for sure. The other one I think could be a bit of an upset. I think Georgia could do something there. And then on Wednesday, we are into match day 2. And we'll have 3 games Wednesday: Croatia, Albania, Germany, Hungary, and Scotland, Switzerland. Then there are 3 games on Thursday, 3 on Friday, and 3 on Saturday. So that's fun. There's games every single day, right the way through until the 26th. Then, the 27th and 28th are off days. Then we start the round of 16. That runs from the 29th to the 2nd. Then we have 2 off days, and then we get the quarterfinals on the 5th and 6th, the semi-finals on the 9th and 10th, and the final on the 14th. So, all looking very promising. It has started well. I have been pleasantly surprised by how well the competition has impressed me, entertained me. Let's say entertained. What I have enjoyed as well is just how well the Germans put on a tournament. I really, really do think they put on a good tournament. They've got, I think, the best selection of stadiums in Europe. And they're all very, very impressive. Right, Copa America starts this week. And that is reason for excitement, I think. Tournament kicks off on the 20th, which will be the 21st here in Europe. And the first game will see Argentina take on Canada. That is a 1 a.m. UK time kickoff. That game will be at the Incredible Stadium in Atlanta. Argentina versus Canada should be a good start. I'm really looking forward to this competition. And over the weekend, we got confirmation of the finalised squads. So, Argentina. Notable names for those of us of a Premier League persuasion. Gonzalo Montiel, who was on loan at Nottingham Forest last season, remains to be seen if he stays there. Julian Alvarez, Christian Romero, Giovanni Lo Celso, Alejandro Garnacho, Alexis McAllister, Emi Martinez, Enzo Fernandez, and Lisandro Martinez. Also, obviously, notable names, the likes of Lionel Messi, the likes of Lautaro Martinez. It's a very, very strong squad. Very strong squad. They have to be, I think, the favourites to win it. Also in Group A, you've got Peru. No Premier League players in that squad. Not a squad of stars. Marcus Lopez, the left back at Feyenoord, is one of the few players actually playing in Europe. Chile are also in that group. Claudio Bravo is in the squad. Ila is in the squad. Alexis Sanchez. It is largely the same squad that they've had for a very long time now. There hasn't been a whole lot of change. Ben Brereton Diaz and Marcelino Nunes of Sheffield United on loan and Norwich City, respectively, are in the squad. And the one to watch, I think, there is Dario Osorio of Midtjylland, who's been linked with moves to the Premier League. Should be quite a decent group, just with the experience that they've got. The Canadians then. So, I don't know who Luc de Fougerols is, but he's at Fulham. He's in the squad. Ishmael Akone of Watford is in the squad. He is really, really exciting. He's definitely one to keep an eye on. Jonathan David, everybody will be aware of. Tajan Buchanan, who's at Inter Milan. Tom McGill, who's a backup goalkeeper for Brighton. Alphonso Davies is obviously the big star of the show. Liam Miller also in the squad. It's a pretty decent squad, to be fair, and they'll fancy their chances of getting out of the group. In Group B, Mexico, Edson Alvarez is your Premier League representative, but a couple of well-known players there. Johan Vasquez of Genoa is a pretty good player. Santiago Jimenez of Feyenoord will be the one that they rely on for goals. Then it's Ecuador, Hincapié in the squad. Joel Ordonez, who you've probably heard me talking about, is in the squad. William Pacho is in the squad. We've got Kendry Paez, who will be joining Chelsea at some point in the future. Jeremy Sarmiento, who belongs to Brighton, spent last year on loan, first at West Brom and then at Ipswich. He's a talented player. Obviously, Moises Caicedo is the best-known player in the squad. Now, unfortunately for them, no Purvis Estupida. So that's obviously a bit of a blow, and it might be hard enough to overcome that. Venezuela are up next. Jordan Osorio of Parma. Yangel Herrera, formerly of Manchester City, currently of Girona. He's probably the best-known player in this squad to us European folk. Plebs, I was going to say, but folk is nicer. Jamaica round out that group, and obviously there are quite a few English-based players. You've got Michael Hector of Charlton, you've got Ethan Pinnock of Brentford, Deshaun Bernard of Sheffield Wednesday, Mikel Antonio of West Ham, Bobby D. Cordova-Reid of Fulham, Wes Harding of Millwall, Connie Boyce Clark of Reading, Casey Palmer, and Joel Latibueder, I'm going to go with, of Coventry, K. Roy Anderson of Charlton, Greg Lee of Oxford and Amari Bell of Luton. Notable, no Leon Bailey. Leon Bailey turned down his call-up. Brilliant. Group C then, a lot of English-based players in the American squad. You've got Matt Turner of Forest. Obviously, Cameron Carter-Vickers, formerly of Spurs, is at Celtic. Chris Richards of Crystal Palace. Tyler Adams of Bournemouth. Anthony Robinson of Fulham. But Yunus Musa, formerly of Arsenal. He's at Milan now. Giovanni Reina, who spent the second half of last season on loan at Forest. Weston McKennie, who was at Leeds on loan and could be coming to Aston Villa. Christian Pulisic, formerly of Chelsea, currently of AC Milan. Brendan Aronson, who's on loan from Leeds at Union Berlin. Tim Ream of Fulham. Haji Wright of Coventry. Ethan Horvath of Cardiff. And Josh Sargent of Norwich. So a lot of Premier League-based or formerly Premier League-based players in the USA squad. Uruguay, they've got a pretty strong squad again. You've got Jose Maria Jimenez, who's the new captain, Sebastian Caceres, Ronald Araujo, Manuel Ugarte, Rodrigo Bentancur of Tottenham, Nati Nandez of Cagliari, Luis Suarez in the squad, Yalachete is in the squad of Flamengo, probably the best player currently playing in South America. Facundo Palestri of Manchester United spent last season or part of last season on loan at Granada. You've got Guillermo Varela, who, if I'm not mistaken, was at Manchester United and never got an opportunity. Yeah, they signed him at 20, kept him till 24. He played 4 times. He played 11 times actually in the 15-16 season and was then sent back to Penarol, where he played for a while, came back to Europe with Copenhagen, then he went to Dinamo Moscow, and now he's playing for Flamengo. But he's a decent player. Unfortunately, his career was kind of ruined by that move to United. Fede Valverde is in the squad. Matthias Oliveira, Matthias Vigna is a decent player. He's in the squad. Darwin Núñez, Max Araujo, Emi Martinez of Midtjylland, who's just one to watch. 24, but maybe a late bloomer there. And yeah, I quite fancy them to be a very hard out. Panama, Jose Cordoba of Norwich City is the only English-based player. Jose Luis Rodriguez of Milicia is a decent player. Cannot claim any real familiarity with anyone else in that squad, I have to say. Annabelle Godoy, obviously. I mean, he's been around for 40 years at this point. He's pretty good. He must be 35, 34. Finally, in that group, you've got Bolivia. No English-based players. Jaime Kuhler of Barcelona B. Boris Cespedes of Yerveden in Switzerland. Roberto Fernandez of Baltica Kaliningrad. They're the only European-based players. There are 3 who are playing in other South American countries, and the rest are all based in Bolivia. Not exactly blessed with much talent at the moment, unfortunately, the Bolivians. Group D then, we start off with Brazil. You've got Alisson Becker, Danilo, formerly of Man City, Eder Militao, Marquinhos, Bruno Guimaraes of Newcastle. You've got Vinicius Jr. there. You've got Lucas Paqueta of West Ham, Endrick, Rodrigo, Rafinha, formerly of Leeds, Jan Couto, who was maybe still is owned by Man City. He's at Girona. Gabriel from Arsenal, João Gomes from Wolves, Lucas Beraldo of PSG, Douglas Luiz in the squad, Andreas Pereira is in the squad, it's a bit of a surprise to be fair. Savio of Girona, soon to be of Manchester City. Evan Nielsen of Porto is one I do like. Gabriel Martinelli's in the squad. You've got Ederson of Atalanta, Bremer of Juventus, and Pepe of Porto, not obviously the centre-back, the other one. It's not a bad squad, but it's certainly It's not a top-level squad by Brazilian standards. Now, it is a top-level squad by most other country standards, but not by Brazilian standards. Up next, we've got Colombia. You've got Luis Diaz of Liverpool, Jon Duran of Villa, and Jefferson Lerma of Crystal Palace. You've got Sinistera of Bournemouth, Daniel Muniz of Crystal Palace, and the really exciting Yasser Asprilla of Watford, who I think is definitely one to watch. Pretty strong squad for the Colombians. Lucini at centre-back is one to keep an eye on. I think Santiago Arias is one that a lot of people know. He was around Europe for a while, played for Athletic Madrid, among others. James Rodriguez is in the squad as well. He's currently playing for Sao Paulo in Brazil, and Yerry Mina is there. So, yeah, pretty decent squad. Paraguay, Miguel Almiron and Julio Enciso are the only English-based players, and frankly, they might be the only English-based player, the only players that I'm in any way familiar with. I've seen Matias Rojas play for Inter Miami, but that's about the height of it. Costa Rica, then, you've got Brandon Aguilera of Bristol Rovers, who I believe is owned by Nottingham Forest. He's in the squad. And there is Kenneth Vargas from Hearts. And I don't know a whole lot of anybody else. Juan Pablo Vargas has been around quite a while. Joel Campbell, who was owned by Arsenal for a billion years, he's there. Francisco Calvo is there. He's at Juarez now. And that's pretty much our lot. So, yeah, the oldest player picked is Claudio Bravo, who is 41 years and 68 days old as of Thursday. Kendry Páez will be 17 years and 47 days. So he is the youngest player at the tournament. Youngest goalkeeper is Boyce Clark of Jamaica. Youngest coach is Jaime Lozano, who is the Mexican coach. He is 45. The oldest coach is Peru's coach, George Fossati, or Jorge Fossati. Not sure which way he prefers it said, but he is 71. The most capped player at the tournament is Messi, 182 caps. Then you've got Alexis, Claudio Bravo, Anel Di Maria, Joel Campbell, Mauricio Isla, Luis Suarez, Anabel Godoy, Thomas Rincon, I should have said, is with the Venezuelan squad. David Espina is in the Colombian squad. You've got Paulo Guerrero. Oh, Paulo Guerrero is he was a really good player. He's quite old now. He's 40. He's a really good player. He's in the Peruvian squad. Yeah, there's quite a lot of experience in the squad. There really is quite a lot of experience. Like, the Peruvians have 3 players with more than 100 caps and 2 players that are either 1 or 2 away from the 100th cap. Argentina have 3 with more than 100. Chile have 4, and it would have been 5, but Arturo Vidal, for whatever reason, I don't know if he's injured. I'm not really sure what's happened, but he's been left out of the squad. So, again, I genuinely have no idea what's happened. I don't know if he's injured. I had read that he was fit, and I think he played in one of the recent games. Heats up Copa America with controversial comments. What's he done now? Oh, he's come out and said Chilean football is better than Argentine football. We're not that far from Argentine football. They say it's a better league, but if you watch the matches, there's so much kicking, so many collisions. It's more physical, not so technical. Chilean football is better than Argentine football. Okay, well, I mean, that's his opinion. I wouldn't agree with it, but fair play. And I don't understand why he's not in the squad. Maybe he didn't want to be. But fairly certain that he was, I'm almost certain he played in a recent game. Let me have a look. Maybe he did. Maybe I've imagined Arturo Vidal playing for Chile over the last year or so. Yeah, no, he was. He was called up for the pre-COPA squad. So I don't understand why he wasn't brought along. Maybe it's just the fact that he is 37 and they wanted to give someone else an opportunity. Maybe that's what it is. Anyway, we'll go to break. We'll be back after this. Right, welcome back. So, let's continue having a look at Premier League clubs, the seasons they had, and what they might want to do this coming summer. So let's go to Fulham, who finished in 13th position, which I think all things considered is a successful season for them. They're obviously not long back in the Premier League under Marco Silva. Last year was their first year back after winning promotion. In the summer, they lost Mitrovic, they almost lost João Palhinha, and almost lost Marco Silva. So quite a lot of turmoil. They signed Raul Jimenez for, I think, 5 million. Calvin Bassey from Ajax was sort of their big signing. Timothy Castagna arrived and Alex Iwobi arrived. They also brought in Adama Traore on a free, and then the 2 unsuccessful loans. Fode Ballo-Touré from Milan arrived on loan. He barely played. 6 games in the league, 8 in all competitions. And Armando Broja came in January on loan, and he played 8 times and couldn't score. So, fair to say, Jimenez did okay. Bassey was a mixed bag, which Calvin Bassey tends to be. Adama Traore was overall, I think, quite disappointing. Castagna was a pleasant surprise for them. But I think Iwobi worked out quite well. So they finish in 13th, a point ahead of Wolves, a point behind Brighton and Bournemouth. They did finish 10th last year. They finished 2 points off 10th this year. So I don't think they'd view that as a step back for the simple reason that they had a lot of turmoil. They weren't really able to go out and strengthen the squad in the same manner that they had wanted to. Now, they did take, and this is worth mentioning, they took 52 points in 22-23 and only 47 this year. So it was a 5-point drop. So that's not ideal. But all things considered, I think they're still going to be very happy with how their season played out. They began with a win away to Everton, then lost at home to Brentford, drew away to Arsenal, and frankly proved to be Arsenal's kryptonite during the season. Got heavily beaten at the Etihad, beat Luton at home, drew away with Palace. So, I mean, through 6 games, they'll be very disappointed they've lost 3-0 at home to Brentford. But everything else is going... But the draw against Arsenal, they would not have expected. And I think the draw away to Palace, even though Palace are in the same kind of group as them, still think it's a decent result. Lost at home to Chelsea, beat Sheffield United at home. That's fine. Lost away to Spurs, fair enough. Drew away at Brighton, which is a good result. Lost at home to United, fair enough. Lost away to Villa. No issues so far other than getting beaten pretty comfortably at home by Brentford. But a couple of good results there. I think it's a good point away to Arsenal, a good point away to Brighton. Now, at that point, 12 games in, they're 15. From there, the season could have gone one of 2 ways. It could have become a very disappointing year. There was already noise around Palhinha and a move in January. But to their credit, I think they really did well. They had been struggling for goals, obviously, through those 12 games. That was the big issue. And then To the next 4 games, they score 16 goals. So they beat Wolves 3-2 at home. Good result. They lose 4-3 away at Anfield. Liverpool need 2 late goals to turn that from a 3-2 defeat into a 4-3 win. So it's a good performance. They hammer Forest 5-0. Then they hammer West Ham 5-0. That's really, really good. 3 wins out of 4. Boosts their season quite a lot. But then they did lose 3 in a row, including a really bad result. So they lose away at Newcastle, that's fine. And they lose away at Bournemouth, that's fine. But in between those games, they lost 2-0 at home to Burnley, and that's very, very disappointing. But then they turn around, they beat Arsenal 2-1. Having gone 1-0 down, they turned around and beat Arsenal 2-1. So that's a great result. They lost away to Chelsea. They drew at home with Everton, drew away with Burnley. Again, disappointing. Then they beat Bournemouth 3-1 at home. They lost at home to Villa. They went to Old Trafford and won, and then beat Brighton at home. Then lost away to Wolves, but then beat Tottenham at home. 3-3 draw away with Sheffield United is disappointing. Lost to Forest, a little bit disappointing, but it's away, so it's fine. Lost at home to Newcastle, I think that's okay. Beat West Ham away, that's a really good result. Lost at home to Liverpool. Drew at home at Palace. Drew away with Brentford. Lost at home to City, but then won away at Luton on the final day. So I don't think there's too many bad results in there. The Brentford 3-0 at home, yes. I think both results against Burnley and the draw with Sheffield United, I think you'd categorise them as bad results. But then when I look at good results, the draw with Arsenal, the win against Arsenal, the win over Spurs, the win away to United, the win away to West Ham, I think overall they actually overperformed a little bit in terms of what I would have expected. So I think they can be very happy with the season. FA Cup, they got bounced in round 4. They beat Rotherham 1-0, but then lost 2-0 to the Toon. A little bit disappointing it was at home, but Newcastle are a better team. In the EFL Cup, they did reach the semi-finals. They knocked out Spurs on penalties. Then they beat Ipswich, and then they beat Norwich just to completely terrorise both parts of the Old Firm. Then they beat Everton away on penalties, which was good. Then they lost to Liverpool. They lost 2-1 away in the first leg, drew 1-1 in the second leg, and out they went. Overall, though, that's a good cup run. Now, looking ahead to next season, Bernd Leno's a good goalkeeper. I think that's fine. Marek Roddick, he's a solid backup, so I think that's okay. Assuming he's staying, and I think he will, that's fine. Right back, you've got Castagna, you've got Kenny Tete. I think you're okay. Left back, you've got Anthony Robinson. I do think you need to find a decent backup for him, just so he's not being overplayed. Centre-back now might become an issue because Tosin is gone, signed for Chelsea on a free. You do have Bassi, but he is inconsistent. You have Issa Diop, but he is inconsistent. And Tim Ream, I'm almost certain, is out of contract and looking like he'd probably move back to America. Now, that young Canadian that I mentioned, he's a centre-back option for them, but I have no idea if he's any good. I think they need to go out this summer and sign a backup left-back, at least one starting centre-back, maybe 2. But you need 2 in total. In midfield, I think everybody believes Paulinho will leave. So you're going to need to replace him. But the rest of it's pretty solid. You've got Sasa Lukic, you've got Alex Iwobi, you've got Harrison Reed. That's a pretty good group. You can get a good replacement in for Paulinho. I think you're okay there. In the 10 spot, you've got Pereira. D. Cordova-Reid can play there. Tom Kearney can play there, though I'd like to see him play quite a bit less. In the wide areas, I'd probably be looking to bring somebody in. Willian is well past his best. Didn't think much of a damn at Traore for them. I think Harry Wilson's a little bit too inconsistent. Now, maybe Luke Harris gets an opportunity and can play wide. He is more of a central player, but maybe he can play wide as he learns his craft. They do have the option of bringing back Carlos Vinicius off a loan. but I wouldn't recommend it. I'd try and sell. I'd probably try and sell Kevin Mbappe as well, because it just didn't work there for whatever reason. I think Rodrigo Muniz is your go-to number 9 moving forward, and I think genuinely Raul Jimenez is perfectly fine as a backup. So I would say look for at least one winger, ideally 2, a defensive midfielder, a starting centre-back, a backup centre-back, and a backup left-back. Now, if you want to start Wilson on one wing and just look for one starter in the wide area, fair enough. But that is where the business needs to be done. They do have Di Cordova-Reid can play wide. Iwobi can play wide. But I'd like to see them be a bit more ambitious this summer. Now, I know they were tight with financial fair play, but Paulinho will bring in a decent enough sum. You got a pretty good sum last summer for Mitrovic, so I think you broke about even. Oh no, because you brought in Iwobi late. Your net spend was maybe 15 million last summer. You know, that's not bad. It's not bad at all. They should have a bit of room to play with, and hopefully they can be ambitious, because their manager's ambitious. And I think Marco Silva is a really good manager. I think he's quite underrated. He's still only 46, but he's got quite a lot of experience. Started off with Estoril in 2011, immediately after his playing career. Then he went to Sporting. It wasn't a particularly good time at Sporting, but he still won nearly 59% of his matches. Estoril, by the way, he got them promoted from the second division into the top flight in his time there. He did win a cup with Sporting, but there was just a lot of bizarre things going on. So it was tough to know whether or not he was being held back by the noise around him, because there was a lot of noise. A lot of stupidity as well. Like, the official reason for him getting sacked was for not wearing the club suit for a cup match. But the real reason was they wanted to bring in Jorge Jesus from Benfica. Absolute nonsense. And Jorge Jesus had done an amazing job at Benfica, but he was pretty crap at Sporting. And at Cole Sporting, I think, a superior manager. He went to Olympiacos. He did pretty well. Won himself a Greek title. Won nearly 80% of his games. Then he was out of work for a while. Then he got the whole job. And everybody remembers the Paul Merson stupidity. He almost kept Hull up from a near impossible position. Then he took over at Watford, and things were going very, very well until Everton started to tap him up, and his head got turned and things fell apart, and he ended up getting sacked. Then he went to Everton. He did really well in his first season, but the first sign of trouble, Everton being Everton, they binned him off. And then he was out of work for 18 months, and finally he took the Fulham job, and he's done really well there. He got them promoted. He kept them up comfortably in the top half, and he kept them up comfortably a second time. He's a really good manager. He's their best asset right now, and it's not close. Like, he is absolutely the most important person about that club, so they have to keep him happy. I think Fulham will be fine again next season, as long as they invest this summer and keep that manager. Because if he were to leave, then I think they could go down. Because I think if he leaves, it'll become panic stations. We'll see the nonsense from years gone by where Fulham signed 14 players in the last 2 days of the window. And that's just a catastrophic recipe for everybody involved. Right, folks, back once again after this. Right, welcome back. So it was a very sad weekend in football. We lost Kevin Campbell, formerly of Arsenal, Nottingham Forest, Everton, West Brom, Trabzonspor and Cardiff also had loans with Leyton Orient and Leicester. Once capped by England B, 4 times capped by England under 21. Kevin Campbell came through the Arsenal Academy, emerged into the first team picture in 1988 and played for them until 1995 when he moved on to Forest for 2.5 million. He had a really good partnership with Ian Wright. He'd been a really good partner before that for Alan Smith when they were played together. But him and Ian Wright were a great pairing. But for whatever reason, Arsenal decided to move on from him, and they brought in John Hartson, Chris Kawami, a couple of others, and he eventually moved on in the summer of 95. But went on to forge a good career for himself. In his 213 games for Arsenal, he scored 59 goals, had seasons of 10, 14 and 19. In his 3 seasons with Nottingham Forest, he had 31 goals in 82 games, including 22 in 39 in what we now call Championship. He spent, including a loan spell, he spent 6.5 years at Everton and scored 39 goals in 151 games, 2 seasons of 12, and a loan spell where he scored 9 goals in 8 games, which convinced them to buy him. He then played for West Brom and rounded out his career with Cardiff. He won the FA Youth Cup with Arsenal in 88, won a league title in 91, an FA Cup in 93, and a League Cup in 93, and was also part of the Arsenal team that won the European Cup Winners' Cup in 1994. It was his goals that fired Nottingham Forest to promotion in 1998. By all accounts, an absolute diamond of a human being. Nobody has a bad word to say about Kevin Campbell. You'll never, ever, ever hear anybody who had any kind of meeting with him, whether in the game or out of the game, with a bad word to say about him. You just won't. There's a couple of stories floating around social media right now of just the kindness of the human being. One gentleman who was in hospital suffering from cancer, undergoing chemo during COVID and being forced to stay in hospital with little to no contact with human beings. He'd met Kevin Campbell beforehand, and Campbell had swapped numbers with him and would text him while he was in hospital just to keep his spirits up. Other people talking about how when he was playing for Everton, he would regularly visit the Alderhay Hospital and check in on kids, and as they got better, he would stay in touch and make sure that all was good. This is a man who dedicated himself to making sure that others were doing well, and that's always a positive thing. His son is Tyrese Campbell, who long time of Stoke, actually a free agent now and on the look for his next club. I think a good player, capable of playing, at a good level. He's had a couple of very good seasons with Stoke, so I look forward to seeing what's next for him. But Kevin Campbell, for certain, is a loss to humanity. Tragedy also struck at Millwall over the weekend as Matthias Sarkic passed away. Sarkic had come through the Villa Academy, Montenegrin born, was at Anderlecht, moved to Villa when he was 18, spent a couple of years in their academy, a couple of years with the first team, had loans at Wigan, Stratford Town, Havant and Waterlooville, and Livingston. Moved on to Wolves. They loaned him to Shrewsbury and Birmingham, where he impressed. Then a loan to Stoke, and then Millwall bought him. He had a really good season for them this year, just gone. Very, very promising first year as a starter at a club that was putting faith in him. And he passed away. He collapsed at an apartment in Budva, Montenegro. Friends called an ambulance as well as the police, but he was pronounced dead at 6:30 a.m. local time at the age of just 26. That is a tragedy. So young, and so much promise ahead of him. Was a Montenegrin international, something that was a source of great pride from 9 caps. Had played up through their underage ranks, and unfortunately for him, played his last game on the 5th of June, a friendly for his nation against Belgium, and was named man of the match. They did lose, but he was outstanding, made 9 saves. and just 10 days later, he has passed away. So that is a big, big loss to football. And it puts a lot of stuff in perspective, doesn't it? I mean, you do really have to remind yourself that life is a very precious thing that can go at any time. Just check in on the latest scores at the Euro. It is still 1-0. That came out weird. It is still 1-0 to Slovakia over Belgium. We're into the second half there now. Right, gossip. We've got 3 days worth to get through. Arsenal are willing to accept 30 million for Emile Smith-Rowe this summer. It's from Football Insider. It's probably nonsense. Reece Nelson has told Arsenal he wants to assess his options over a potential move away from the club. Chelsea have been given permission by Aston Villa to discuss personal terms with John Duran. However, the Blues are unsure whether they want to press ahead with the deal. That's written by Jacob Steinberg, who's exposed himself as an enormous spoofer in recent weeks. So we'll just assume that deal is still ongoing, unless a real journalist says otherwise in the next few days with the gossip. Aston Villa have made an inquiry with Chelsea about Ian Maatsen. Don't think I believe that one, to be honest. But they do need a left back, and he's really good. Don't see that one at the moment. Everton have joined Tottenham, Villa, and West Ham in showing interest in Tammy Abraham. Manchester United are prepared to pursue other defensive targets if Everton are not willing to negotiate a deal for Jared Brantway. By all accounts, United have offered 35 million and Everton want 80. So negotiation is not what United need. A miracle is what they need there. Chelsea have verbally agreed terms with Michael Elise. No, they haven't. That's a lie from Team Talk. And Fraser Gillen, I mean, the guy is an enormous spoofer. They use with Football Transfers or one of those other spoofy sites for a while. He's a spoofer. Manchester City will not entertain any offers for Julian Alvarez. Arsenal are chasing Nico Williams, who has a 51 million buyout. I think that's euros. Brighton are set to appoint Fabian Huseler. They have appointed him as a new manager, having agreed compensation with St. Pauli. Newcastle have made contact with AC Milan about the possibility of signing for Kyle Tomori. That would make sense. Tomori would be really good next to Bob. And Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has a new job providing technical evaluation on matches at this summer's Euros. Okay. What else we got there? Next day's worth. Manchester United have started internal talks about a move for Matthias de Ligt. United do not intend to match Jared Brantwaite's valuation by Everton and will threaten to walk away. I'm sure Everton will be desperately disappointed. Arsenal are interested in making a move for Barcelona and England midfielder Kira Walsh. Credit to Arsenal, their women's team is always strong and they're always looking to strengthen. Valencia have made a £25 million bid for Mason Greenwood. No, they haven't. West Ham have begun Crystal Palace have begun talks with Arsenal over a move for Reece Nelson, with Fulham and West Ham also interested. It seems very unlikely that that's true. It is an exclusive by Darren Looney, so trash. Manchester City are prepared to increase Pep Guardiola's 20 million a year plus salary, plus the 150 million a year he's earning for being the CEO of a Abu Dhabi-based snowmobile rental company. Man City are probably desperate to keep him, though, at this point, given, what might be coming. Jack Grealish could seek a move away from Manchester City after struggling for first-team football, but his high wages may be a stumbling block. Yeah, no one's given him the 350 grand a week plus City are paying him. So AC Milan sent a scout to watch Armando Broja. He wasn't good. Lille have turned down 42.3 million from an unnamed Premier League side. Highly unlikely. It's from the Express. The Express is trash, so highly unlikely. Manchester United defender Victor Lindelof is a target for Jose Mourinho at Fenerbahce. That one could make sense. United have joined AC Milan and Borussia Dortmund in pursuit of a Red Bull Salzburg striker, whose name I'm not even going to try and pronounce, who scored 4 goals for Austria during their recent Under-17 European Championship. Manchester City aim to hijack Real Madrid's move for Franco Mastantuono of River Plate, a 16-year-old sensational midfielder. A release clause believed to be around 45 million. I still think Real will get that one done. Liverpool have made an inquiry about 27-year-old Stuttgart centre-back Waldemar Anton. I'm just going to go ahead right now and say that they haven't. My guess is that they haven't. Just given his age, he's good. No question. He is good. I just don't see that one. Not a bad player, though. Juventus have moved ahead of Borussia Dortmund in the pursuit of Jadon Sancho. I doubt it. Manchester United, Arsenal, Man City and Bayern Munich have all expressed interest in Xavi Simons. Liverpool have had a €50 million bid for Lenny Yoro rejected. Well, they haven't. Bayern Munich's pursuit of Chelsea and England defender Levi Colwill has gone cold because it never existed. It was only made up. Manchester City will not accept a fee lower than 25 million for João Cancelo. He definitely won't be going to Barcelona. So Everton are looking at Jacob Greaves. If they lose Jared Branthwaite, that does make sense. I think I suggested that in the past. Bayern Munich have not managed to agree a new deal with Alphonso Davies. They're not planning to sell him and will allow him to enter his final year of his contract. I doubt that. I think they will sell. Aston Villa are keeping tabs on Kelechi Iheanacho, who's leaving Leicester on a free this summer. Could make sense to back up to Watkins, but he is what he is. Aston Villa are also in daily contact with Chelsea over Ian Maatson. I highly doubt they're in daily contact. Let's not be foolish now. Ipswich, Southampton, Leicester and Leeds are among the clubs interested in signing Joe Rodon. He had a really good season for Leeds. I'd like to see him stay there, but would be understandable if he joins a Premier League club rather than spending another year in the Championship. Tottenham are among the clubs to have held initial talks over signing Ricardo Calafiori. Mark Russ, I don't know. I'm inclined to say spoofer, but I actually don't know who that is. Aston Villa's full focus remains on finalising a swap deal with Juventus involving Douglas Luiz, despite recent links with a move for Amadou Onana. I have doubts over that. I do. But we'll see what happens. I do think Onana's a priority for them, just based on who's reported the Onana stuff. Feeling that might be a priority, but they also want to add a bit of depth in midfield, so that would explain why they might be willing to take on Weston McKennie. Inter Milan president Giuseppe Morata says the contract renewal of Lautaro Martinez is all but done. The only thing missing is his signature. And Roma are targeting a move for Mats Hummels. That one would make sense to me. I think a year in Serie A before he maybe heads to America. I'm surprised he's not going to America or maybe he will. Maybe he will go to America or to Saudi directly. But he wants one more year in Europe. I mean, Serie A would make sense. And Roma could do with a bit of an organisation voice at the back. Like can be a bit all over the place. That said, De Rossi prefers the back four. And I don't like the idea of Hummels in a back four at this point. Anyway, not to worry. We'll be back tomorrow. Take care of yourselves. Enjoy your evening. Enjoy the rest of the games. And I'll speak to you then. Bye-bye.
Sports Social Podcast Network.